divine feminine has really been lost in translation. I think it makes a lot of sense to go back and look at this original language of the Lord's Prayer from the Aramaic language of Jesus, and look at feminine reference, because clearly in the English version of the prayer, which is beautiful in its own right, is sort of noticeably lacking any reference to the feminine. And in my studies and contemplations of the Aramaic Lord's Prayer, as well as drawing on the teachings of Dr. Neil Douglas Klotz in his publication of the original prayer, we reveal some interesting aspects. Clearly there's a yearning, I think, out there today for the divine feminine, for her attributes of compassion and receptivity and unconditional love. The popularity of the movie The Da Vinci Code, I think, has something to say about the yearning out there for the divine feminine and sort of bringing her back into the Christian tradition. A couple of references to the Lord's Prayer. The first, again, is the first line of the Lord's Prayer, that Aramaic word abun, which is beyond gender. And of course, that's the term that became Our Father and has skewed a lot of our attention towards the masculine, for better or for worse. If we look at the yogic tradition of union and yoga being a balance and a merging of masculine and feminine, masculine and feminine have been put at more equal footing in the mystical traditions of yoga. So that's one point that we can look at Our Father, at Abun, and expand that to include the mother. Obviously, we don't have fathers without mothers, we don't have mothers without fathers, so to consider one without the other is inappropriate. The second aspect of the divine feminine in the Aramaic language is the term that became "Thy kingdom come." The Aramaic words there were te malkutach. And that word malkutach, which became kingdom, has a very close relationship back to a Canaanite word. And this, of course, comes from the teachings of Dr. Neil Douglas Klotz. And that Canaanite word was Malkatah. And Malkatah was the name of the great goddess. So there's a definite connection between that line which became kingdom and actually the mother. So if we look at the Aramaic prayer, we have Abun de Bashmaya, the acknowledgement of one without a second, that vibrates in life and becomes life and vibrates really in the form of the mother. To draw on the tradition of yoga, the mother is all things vibrating, all things alive, and the father is the spaciousness or the pure potentiality, sort of the eye of the hurricane, and the mother is the hurricane. Not in a destructive way, but in a massively creative way is the essence of the divine feminine. In the language of Sanskrit, the language of yoga, we call that Shakti, which leads us to another very close relationship back to the Hebrew. In the Old Testament, the wife of God, essentially the feminine aspect of God, was called Shekinah or Shekinah, and very closely related to that yogic Sanskrit word for the feminine, which is Shakti, often translated as power or energy. Another aspect of the divine feminine found in the Lord's Prayer, if we look at the Aramaic, is in the line, "Give us this day our daily bread." The Aramaic is Havlan Lachma Desun Kanan Yaumana. And the word Lachma is related to the Hebrew word for the mother. It's actually the word that became Sophia in Greek, the goddess Sophia, is Hukhma. Very closely related again to the Sanskrit word Lakshmi. Lachma, Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the goddess of prosperity, and abundance, again related back to the goddess Sophia, which again got exposed in that movie, The Da Vinci Code. So that line, "Give us this day our daily bread," relates back to this notion of the goddess of abundance, the mother, the all-providing, all-loving, unconditionally loving mother. So that's another great connection back to the divine feminine that we find when we look at the Aramaic Lord's Prayer. Namaste.